Can he really do this?
Well, when it comes to pardoning himself, that is a very, very legally questionable area, primarily because nobody has ever tried to do that. The Supreme Court has not ruled on this because they've never needed to, and probably assumed for a while that they wouldn't need to. The argument, a lawyer could get way further into this, but the argument essentially boils down to, on one hand, the Constitution lets him pardon people. It doesn't say this person or that person. It's described as a very broad power. On the other hand, there's a fundamental issue of if the president can pardon himself and essentially do anything and get away with it, does that turn the Constitution into a self-contradictory document when it describes his role as the faithful execution of the law? That's the kind of fundamental question that the Supreme Court would clearly have to rule on if this became relevant. But as you mentioned, our White House team has some great reporting on at least that being that what is on the president's mind at this point.
Yeah, and this question over public interest versus personal gain, which, arguably has always blurred the lines of this presidency. But, Jack, in the meantime, we're also hearing, of course, the revival of calls for another attempt to impeach the president. Of course, the exercise of the 25th Amendment still up for debate as well. How much support are we hearing in D.C. at the moment?
So when it comes to impeachment, this has pretty quickly become the mainstream Democratic stance in favor of impeachment. We don't know about timing. It was very quick that Representative Ilhan Omar offered the articles of impeachment in a resolution, but Speaker Pelosi has framed this as hoping that the administration officials will rely on the 25th Amendment, and then the impeachment, a second round of impeachment, would effectively be a backup. So they're not moving immediately on that, but the Democrats are in favor. We still haven't heard from any key Republicans who would seem to move the ball forward on either of those. People like Lindsey Graham, who did basically say the election is over, said he does not think that either of those are appropriate. So it seems to fall in line with the first round of impeachment unless something changes going forward.
And yet we are seeing people close to the president starting to abandon him, cabinet members quitting. What do we know so far?
Well, we're seeing some staff and cabinet members leave. Maybe the most notable recent one is Elaine Chao, the transportation secretary, who is married to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. The caveat there is, of course, if people are hoping that the 25th Amendment will remove the president, which requires support from the vice president and a majority of his cabinet, if you signal your opposition to the president by resigning, that would preclude you from removing him from office. So they seem to be going in a different direction and more symbolically leaving Trump. Resigning at the very end of his term doesn't make all that much of a difference, especially if it seems to preclude you from removing him from office now.